Within your heart for those people you've dealt in the past. Those who came across your path, their life they've lost. Sure. And he replied, say, circumstances made me what I am. Was I born a violent man? Circumstances made me what I am. Everyone should understand.
What's up to all my beautiful queens, divas of a more mature age? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel today. I am the Eva Monroe, and today I want to talk about healing. And I'm going to talk about this for a couple different reasons. The main reason is because we're getting ready to go over into a new year, and everybody has their New Year's resolutions laid out, I'm sure. Some people want to lose weight. Some people want to get on keto. Some people want to start being vegan or, many different things. But one thing that I feel, oh, and I forgot, many people want to level up in the 2021. But the most important part of that, the most important part of leveling up, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do to make your life better, is healing. And women ask me about this all the time. So I never go deep into it because I am not a paid psychiatrist. I can only speak for my healing process, and I can only share my journey with you. But please know that I'm not a professional. Today, I'm just going to talk about what it was that finally let me know that I had some work to do and how I set out to start doing the work. Okay? Now, I have spoke with great transparency about how I used to be a mess. A MESSSSS. Not just a MESS. A mess. And I have had some major trials and tribulations in my life. I grew up hard. I grew up rough, and I've talked about my childhood in videos before. But I will say that I was about 35, actually, probably about 35, when I realized that I was not equipped with the tools to be living a happy, healthy life. There were a lot of life skills that I didn't possess. Now, there were some things that I started working on prior to the age of 35, but there were some things that were happening inside of me, some things that were affecting me that I didn't know were still affecting me, because at a very young age, I learned how to move around my problems and not move through my problems. So I got divorced. Actually, I got separated. Well, the actual divorce had not occurred yet. I got separated. And when I got separated, I said I wanted to move to a totally different city. I wanted to start my life over. Now, many times I've spoke about, people have asked me, what's one of your greatest regrets in life? I've often said getting divorced. Like, I never got married to get divorced. And it was initially, when it was happening, when I decided that I wanted that to occur, it didn't affect me the way that it would later on down the line. So I'm 35, and I am moving about through life recklessly, but just like on autopilot, in survival mode. I moved to St. Louis, totally different city, new friends, new everything, new set of men, new set of rules. And I got a house, got in my house, was going to work every day, struggling just to get through life, like struggling. This is when I start realizing that there are some life skills that your girl is lacking. Because one thing I'll be very honest about is the fact that when I was married to my first husband, he did an amazing job of shielding and cushioning me, saving me, so to speak. So he would often save me from a lot of BS mistakes that I would make, a lot of things that I would do, a lot of bad decisions I would make pertaining to money and things like that. He was always there to like scoop me up and, be like, okay, I got you. Don't do this shit again, but I got you. And it hurt me more so than it helped me. But I always appreciated that, from him. But it was really a hindrance to me. So I'm 35, living in my house, going to work every day, trying to pay my bills, literally living from check to check. Dating in reckless relationship to meaningless, pointless, reckless relationship over and over again. Now, I was getting ready to hit what was called rock bottom, and I didn't even know. Like, I've been through some things in my life, and I had said previously, I've been at the bottom. I hit rock bottom. I was wrong. I literally hit rock bottom because I did not have the necessary tools to get through life. I didn't think that I could be happy and successful and financially okay. And I watched my mother struggle from the time that I was brought into this world until the time I left home. Struggling to make ends meet, struggling to keep the lights on, struggling. So I was in this situation, kids gone, one in college, one in Kansas, and I get to this point to where like money is an issue for me. And I told someone this one day and they didn't believe it. I had weeks where I couldn't even eat on Thursday at all because I got paid every Friday. I wouldn't eat on Thursday. And I would literally set my alarm on my phone if I could go to sleep, because you can't sleep when you're hungry, child, to wake me up at midnight so that I could get up and go sit at IHOP and eat so that I could at least have a productive Friday at work. That was rock bottom, child. Making it to work on a wing and a prayer like, Lord, if you please don't let me run out of gas. Lord, please don't Lord, I know the wire's showing through on my tires, Lord, but please don't let me have a blowout because I can't even afford to buy myself a new tire right now. Like, I can't even afford a can of Fix-A-Flat. Like, I don't even, what am I going to do? Like, was doing everything on a wing and a prayer. And one day I woke up and I said, Eva, life is not supposed to be this way. You are making things so much harder than they need to be. You're crazy right now. Like, you're a mess. You have some things that you need to sort out. You need to learn some basic life skills because if you don't, you're going to be sleeping under Eve's bridge. You got to do something. So I start reading books, and books are good. Reading is fundamental, right? I'm reading. I'm like, okay, they said this is my problem, and I got to do this. And okay, all right. So I learned how to meditate. I'm meditating. I'm taking long baths. I'm spending time with myself. And then in these books, everybody's saying, go to therapy. And I'm like, damn, I go to therapy. I thought the book was therapy, right? I want to go to therapy. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to therapy. I realized that my insurance actually covered some sessions for me. Go to therapy. Now, I had a totally different idea of therapy, okay? Because I thought when these people get all this money per hour, they're going to fix you. Like, they have all the answers that you need. You're going to go in there, you're going to say, okay, this is my problem. I'm broken. I've been broken since I was a child. I'm broke. I don't have no money. I don't know how to maintain my money. I don't know, I have piss poor spending habits. And these are my problems. Now, write it down on a piece of paper what I got to do, and I'll do that. 3 sessions or less. I need you to hurry up. Take care of this. I thought that's how it would go, right? But I would go in. It was a gentleman. And he would say, what's on your mind? And I'm a talker, right? And so I would just start talking. that, and he, and and they did this, and if it wasn't for that, then I would have been this, and they stole my innocence, and they did this, and then I started listening to myself, right? I was like listening to myself, and he was writing, right? He wasn't even looking at me half the time, y'all. He was just writing. He was like, mm-hmm. And why do you feel that way? Okay, all right, yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Everything that is going on in my life is because of something somebody did to me. So the people that did these horrible things to me, from the person who stole my innocence, to the man who took my money, to the man who broke my heart, to the man who, ran off with the baby, to the man who did this, to the man who did that, they have power over my life. They're controlling my emotions. They're controlling how I move through life. They're controlling whether or not I can be happy and healthy and mentally stable and mentally. They're controlling my life. And I haven't even talked to some of these people in years, but they're still controlling my life. I realized in 2 sessions that I was blaming these people for my brokenness and the way that I was currently living my life. So I go to this man for about probably, I went 3 sessions past my paid for 3 sessions, because I remember having to make some payments. I was like, I need to, can you put me on a payment plan? Can I pay you in gum? So I realized that I had never gone through my pain. I had never gone through it. I did 2 things when I hurt. 2 things when I hurt. The first thing I did was I put the person who hurt me in the angry box, right? Like, you are the person that I'm going to be pissed off at for the rest of my life. I don't mess with you. I don't speak to you. I don't acknowledge you. I wouldn't spit on your grave. It would take too much of my time. Put you in this box, right? And then I put the memory in the forget about it. Just forget about it. You don't have to face that. You don't have to sit in that. You don't have to wallow in that. Forget about it. Just put it in the angry box, put it in the forget pile. I never went through it. Like, got down and dirty and in it and with it and faced it and got up against it. And I realized that I was waiting for people to apologize to me. And I've talked about this before. I wanted my uncle to apologize to me. I wanted him to come to me and say, hey, I admit it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I wanted my mother to come and say, yes, I know I didn't do it right, but I'm sorry. I apologize. I wanted men to come to me and apologize face to face. And until the day I realized that was never going to happen, and it wasn't even necessary for the healing process. I thought it was necessary for the healing process. I thought that there was no way I could move on with my life if these people didn't acknowledge what it was that they did to me. I had to even understand and learn that many of these people still to this day don't think that they did anything wrong to me. So why would they apologize? And so the day that I figured out that it's not for them, it's for me. Forgiveness is for me, so that I can put that stuff away. I can deal with it, sit in it, cry it out, punch it out, kick it out, go through it, and be done with it. That was life altering for me. Life altering. So I'm in therapy. I get done with my therapy, right? And I will never forget this. I wanted to start really making amends with people, you know. I wanted to get closer to my family. I just had this burning desire to just be closer to my family, the ones who would allow me to be closer to them, the ones who wanted to be closer to me. And my father was someone who, even though we made amends and I said, I forgive you for taking that lengthy vacation and, all of that type of stuff, which I've spoke about in a video before, I forgive you. I still felt some type of way because I felt like I was a grown woman and I didn't need my daddy at that present moment in my life. I was like, oh, I don't need you. I got this. I'm doing things. I got kids of my own. I'm cool. But I went to visit my hometown one year, and it just so happened to be on Father's Day, the Father's Day weekend. And I told my dad, I'm here, I'm in town. My dad was like, well, what are you going to do? We were actually going to Juneteenth that weekend. So I said, we're going to Juneteenth, um, and he said, I'm going to come out there and see you. So he came out there and he saw me, said, what y'all doing tonight? And I said, well, a lot of my cousins went, we all went down there. And I said, well, they want to go see a band. There's a band playing at said nightclub. So my dad said, I'm going to go. And I was like, yeah, right. Whatever. So we go back to our hotel. We get changed and get dressed. And I called my dad. I said, I know you in the bed. I know you ain't going. My dad said, I'm down here waiting on y'all. I said, oh, okay. So we get down there. And I will never forget the time that I had with my father that night. I danced with my father. They were playing a song and he was like, come on. We had never danced together before. I danced with my father that night. And it was the best night ever. And the next day, my dad sent me a text message and he said, that was the greatest Father's Day ever. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to be with you. And now this moment was good to me, but this moment, it didn't really stick out in my mind until another moment happened. So I said, well, Dad, my birthday, my birthday's in August and I'm going to have a big luau. I'm going to have a huge party and I want you to come. Now, my dad and his fiance had never got in their new car, and driven on the highway ever before. My dad said, we coming. So I'm like, whatever. Because he had never been to St. Louis to visit me. So that Thursday, my dad calls me. He said, we on our way. And I was like, what? So my dad came down. They came to the party. They stayed at my house. We had the greatest time ever. And I remember that night at my birthday party, I was vibing to the song, All the Way Up. I'm all the way up. We all the way up. And my dad liked that song. And he asked me the next day, he said, what was that song that you was listening to? And I said, oh, All the Way Up. And he was like, I like that song. I like that. So I remember my dad left and he was at home, back where he came from. And I would call him and he didn't sound good to me. He just didn't sound good. Matter of fact, when he was at my birthday party, he had a cough, And I would call him and I would say, hey, Dad, what you doing? Because I started calling him every week because I realized at that moment how important it was for me to talk to my dad. I realized how my dad made me feel. And he would say, I'd say, hey, Dad, what you doing? And he would say, I'm all the way up. And I just would fall out laughing, To make a long story short, my dad had cancer. And he was dying, and he knew that he was dying. But every time I talked to him, he put his game face on. And when I found out the truth, and I said, Dad, I said, I need to come. I got to come. And he was like, No, 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 you got to work. I'm all the way up. You got to work. You stay there. And eventually, my dad ended up being put on a ventilator, and I went. I had to come. And my dad passed away just a few short weeks later. So that situation right there really made me realize and understand how important my family was to me, and how important healing and closing gaps and all that type of stuff really was, especially when it comes to your parents. you know I know a lot of people to this day who like hold these serious grudges with their parents. And even with my mother, I had to come to the realization, I had to say that thing. My mother did what she knew how to do. She did what she knew how to do. She did to us what was done to her. She never learned how to do anything better. Still, she's never learned how to do anything better, you know? And that also forced me to want to be a better person, especially for my children. Because the one thing, once I sat inside of myself and sat inside of my pain and my brokenness, the one thing that I could be so honest with myself about was the fact that I was a horrible mother. I was a horrible mother. Like that would be the one thing that I would want to go back and do all over again. And it was because I felt like I missed out on so much. I wanted to give them everything. And so absence was a big thing, because I always thought working 2, 3, 12, 20 jobs just so that they could never say we didn't have electricity, or they could never say I went to bed hungry, you know, all things, but my time wasn't in it. And if I could go back and do that all over again, I would definitely go back and do that all over again. So my healing process started with sitting in it, sitting in the mess, figuring out I had to figure out what even was it? Like, what was it? Because things that I had been through that I did not think affected me one way or another greatly affected me. And I never realized that until I sat in it and I started to address the behaviors. Then, once I sat in it and I went through it, not around it, not under it, not over it, I went through it. One of the big things that I learned was that I hadn't been kind to myself. Not only had I not been kind to other people, because I wasn't kind to other people, because people had never been kind to me, and so I would always return the favor. Like, I don't got time, you know, I'm a brick wall. Miss me with that. My only mission is to seek and destroy. But I had to learn how to be kind to myself. And I had to learn that taking care of yourself is not selfish, and it is 100% necessary in order to start the process of falling in love with yourself. Like, you have to take care of yourself mentally and physically, right? So, I don't want to ramble and ramble. We'll call this part 1. Step 1 and 2 of my healing process, and what I started to do to get into myself and learn how to sort out the mess. Because sometimes it's so much mess that we don't even know where to begin. We're like, it's like when your house is a complete mess. You're like, what room do I start in? Your mind is the same way. You got to figure out, like, what room do I start in? How do I start to clean up this mess? Do I get the vacuum out first? Should I dust? Do we need pine saw? Where do I start with this mess? And with me, I picked the hardest part. I picked my abuse because that was the main thing that held me back in my life. It ruined every relationship for me. It caused me to be attached to some people that I never should have been attached to, and I was attached to them for all the wrong reasons. That was the main culprit of my pain. And the moment I realized that and I started sorting through that, that made everything else easy. And I use the term easy very loosely because it is not an easy process. It's painful. It hurts. It's ugly. It stinks. It gets worse before it gets better when you start dealing with the stuff. But you got to start somewhere. So thank you guys so much for listening to me today. I have to go out and finish some last minute Christmas stuff so that we can be just locked in the house for the next week. But until I see you again, be blessed. I hope you all have a happy and safe holiday. And bye.